So, bacon butty is,
Yes.
for you, one of the ultimate dishes.
It's an
Man has
extraordinary,
created.
it's a combination of meat and bread. You really do know where you are because it is what it is. It's bacon inside a sandwich. And I think because it's essentially a cafe meal rather than an organic meal, and vegetarians aren't allowed to have it because they always go on about how they miss it, and you think, well, have some then. Tea's great. It's got things in it. It's got free radicals and tannin and antacids and stuff. And Boy George said he preferred tea to sex.
Did he?
Yeah, he'd obviously never had sex at this point in his life.
Not at that point. No.
No, and he's probably quite young.
But you're a tea and not a coffee man.
Don't mind coffee. Coffee's very good for waking you up in the morning, but there's something about tea. Tea is like, if you imagine if your entire family have been killed in an explosion and you have a cup of tea and you don't mind.
Your second dish is quite a mucky dish to eat, spaghetti vongole, one of my favourites too.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing that fascinates me, is the whole spoon thing. Because one thing I know about Italian food, whatever you do, they say they don't do that in Italy. If you have pasta, they say they don't eat pasta in Italy, they only eat a tiny amount. If you have fish, they don't cook it like that. If you have tomato sauce, they don't have it. But spaghetti and spoons, oh, they don't use spoons in it. You think, well, obviously that's how you eat it.
Your third dish, butter chicken.
Butter chicken. I can't remember the first time I had Indian food. I literally can't remember. One day I wasn't having it, and the next I was just like a lot of students. And I went through that awful phase, I've got to have the hottest dish. There's one called fal, oh my God. And after a while you think, you might as well just stick a blowtorch in your mouth. Because if you're just eating things because they're hot, you're really wasting your time. Yeah. So you dial down a bit, and I discovered that I liked creamy food, and I like chicken, and butter chicken just suits that. It's probably the nearest I get to a sweet dish. It'd be my dessert.
It is sort of oddly sweet, but
yeah,
it's a huge hug of a dish.
That's a nice phrase. Comforting. Yeah, it's lovely. I like comforting food. Yeah. In the bleakness of my life, you turn to food for solace.
So tell me about how you got into comedy writing, David.
Well, I'd always written stuff at home, and I didn't really think I was good enough to get things on telly. I was at a friend's house, we were watching some rubbish on the telly, whose name escapes me, and she just said, well, you're funnier than that. And that was quite liberating, because it was the idea that you didn't have to actually be funny. You just had to be funnier than what was on television. Yeah. And what was on television wasn't always very good. So I sent some sketches to Spitting Image. I sent them 3 and they bought 1. And that was really exciting.
This is the amazing spice mix from India via Cork. But just give that a sniff.
Oh, fantastic.
So, and what are you up to at the moment? You've just been shooting a short film.
Yep, it's called Falcon of Fury. It's a short film, and yeah, it's based on a lot of things, but partly the films of Stephen Chow, this Hong Kong action comedy director who basically takes aspects of normal life, cookery, comedy and so forth, and applies the disciplines of kung fu to them. It's very funny, and that's what we hope to do. I'm
just going to whiz this up, and then we can put it on the chicken.
This is a book called Sparks. It's a science fiction comedy, and I never was able to get it published. My girlfriend found an article about somebody who'd made billions publishing on Kindle, and it means people can buy it for £2.
Fantastic.
So if you don't like it, well, it's only £2. If you do like it, it's only £2.
All of your dishes are savoury, and from your Come Dine With Me tour de force, you did port and cheese for pudding instead of pudding, so you clearly don't have much of a sweet tooth.
No, I really don't get dessert. It's like you go to dinner with people and people are like, I won't have a starter, I'll save myself for dessert. And you're like, oh God, that's just like retiring, you know, I'll have a rotten life, and then when I retire, I have loads of money, I'll just sit in the garden staring at a gnome. You don't end your dinner with oh, that was a lovely meal, I'll have a cake or a pudding. It's just ridiculous. And that's the coriander.
That's the coriander. Good pinch of Maldon sea salt.
Thank you very much.
After you.
Give it a go. Really nice. The spices are fantastic.
Always quite spicy though.
When I was a kid, my parents would go out for pub meals, And I used to have a pasty for dessert.